You are listening to the World Sports Show on WPPMLP Philadelphia. Soccer-based sports talk covering local, nation, and global soccer. Broadcasting from the Philly Cam studio in Center City, Philadelphia on 106.5 FM.
Welcome to the World Sports Show. Charlie Flowe here with John DiCriscio and Kevin Hines. We are live on Monday, November the 27th. Cool, crisp evening in Philadelphia. A lot of soccer news to talk about. We have an awesome guest coming up later on the show. We'll break all that down. Big shout out to John. He injured himself playing in our futsal tournament a few weeks ago, and has got his full cast on, so he's operating the board with 1.5 hands.
It's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, 1.5.
Optimistically.
You're about 75%.
There you go.
Exactly. So, but as a soccer player, you still got both feet working.
That's it. That's the irony of the whole thing.
Yeah, I don't know how your throw-ins would be.
Nah. Maybe a little to the right. Little curve, little slider thrown in there.
So a lot to talk about on the show. We have a lot of women's news. We have a little bit of USA news and some MLS news and some Serie A news. So let's break it down into what's trending and what's the hot topics. In MLS news, Toronto FC's Greg Vandy named 2017 MLS Coach of the Year. Last week, Columbus and Toronto played to a 0-0 tie in leg one of their semifinals in Columbus, which may be the last game ever in Columbus since the team may move to Austin, Texas. Seattle won in Houston 2-0 in their first leg. They will both resume, or all four teams, will resume play on Wednesday and Thursday. Wednesday the 29th will be leg two of Toronto in Columbus Crew, live in Toronto at 7:30 on FS1. Thursday, November 30th, the West will play their second leg with the Seattle Sounders hosting the Houston Dynamo at 10:30 on ESPN, ESPN Deportes, or you can watch it on Watch ESPN app. The United States trio of Christian Pulisic, Clint Dempsey, and Josie Altidore have been nominated for the 2017 CONCACAF Player of the Year award. Philadelphia Union goalkeeper and Jamaican 2017 Gold Cup hero Andre Blake is also up for award of Goalkeeper of the Year in CONCACAF. We look at NWSL news. Former Seattle Reign head coach Laura Harvey had stepped down last week. This week she was named first head coach of Utah's new NWSL team out of Real Salt Lake. They have not come up with a name for the team, but she was announced as the new head coach. And as a lot of you know, that the Real Salt Lake team inherited all the Kansas City players under contract. Vera Paul, veteran coach of four national team, was named head coach of the Dash. Will be named head coach on Dash. The news got leaked out a little early, but Dash will have a press conference tomorrow announcing her as their new head coach. So a lot to talk about. Also, our guest on the show will be Mike Vast, the Lionsbridge FC owner and founder. This is the new team in the PDL that'll be playing out of Newport News, Virginia, the town that I was born and raised in. So a lot to talk about. I think the first thing we should hit, let's break down some of these MLS news. Greg Vandy named 2017 Coach of the Year. I mean, when you win the fashion and top of the table majority of the season like Toronto was, well-deserved.
Well deserved. You know, is it the popular vote? I'm always like the naysayer when it comes to, that big coach winning Coach of the Year.
Yeah.
I mean, with that talent, wasn't he
That's
supposed
true.
to
Coach
win
of the Year. Yeah, Coach of the Year, they always say that, like, if you look at the top 3 or 4 teams in MLS, EPL, Spanish League, you throw me into managing Barcelona, I'm going to at least pick up a couple wins just with Messi.
There you go. You know, that's one thing that we debate is the MVP, the top players. I mean, did he exceed expectations? I know he was, been the last couple of years, the big spending, big player pool. They've got.
He did what he was supposed to do.
Right, exactly. But I mean, I think
a coach like Columbus or somebody like that you're working with good players, but not great players.
I mean, I think you always direct this question at me because you know what reaction you're going to get out of me when you talk about Coach of the Year right away. I'm always going to shoot it down. But, you know, I always like those stories of Coach of the Year that are like those, you know, we brought the team up from, you know, 500 club to, you know, or worst to first or one of those type deals with just getting dealt the cards that you get dealt, not, you know, having a superb all-star team where, in my opinion, they're supposed to finish Toronto's, you know, 1 or 2 automatically. And if not, then it's unsuccessful.
A failure.
Exactly.
Yeah, you look like a Claudio Ranieri a couple years ago for Leicester. That's Coach of the Year.
Yeah. You know, stepping up. I mean, what were the odds? It was, you bet
301 or something.
300. It was a lot of
guys.
gas.
I've seen 500. I've seen like 500 to 1. So only if I could have gone back in time. So we know that the first leg in Columbus ended 0-0. You know, not a bad result for either team. You know, it's look at it as, hey, you didn't give up a goal, you didn't concede a goal, so it comes down to a 1-game playoff in Toronto all Wednesday. It's going to be a little chilly in Toronto probably too. I haven't pulled out the weather report, but
I mean, you
I know in Toronto
around freezing
Wednesday night, 7:30. It's about 6:30 local time, 7:30 at night. You know, it's going to be, you know, right off that lake effect. It's going to be pretty cold. And I just watched the Grey Cup last night, and it was snowing their game. So, you know, in Canada, it's already snowing in Canada.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's been snowing for a while now.
Yeah, and we already know that Toronto, with the way they've been playing, since they do have the Shield, they would be hosting the finals, and that's not until December. So we saw it last year when Seattle went in there, won a very cold game.
Plow the field. Get the snow plow ready.
Get the Zamboni ready.
Yeah, it's Zamboni. But I think their fields, they get it pretty clear.
Yeah, dude, they'll be fine.
Unlike a couple years ago, I believe it was the Red Bull DC.
The post game with Garber out there shoveling snow himself. I remember that.
Right.
Yeah, they had to postpone that game. I mean, gosh, it just hit, and it's. You look at Canada, dude. Those people are professionals when it comes to snow.
You gotta be. Gotta be.
Places on the East Coast, like you get hit. Like remember Atlanta got hit with snowmageddon, you know, and the whole city just shut down.
And it was about an inch of snow.
Exactly. Dusting.
Everybody's
Canadians are like, that's a dusting.
Yeah.
Anything under a foot's a dusting.
They're playing out in their shorts and T-shirts.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And one other thing to note as well is in MLS, another coaching, San Jose signed Swedish coach.
I saw that.
Mikael Stara. Had an impressive season.
Very technical coach, good at what he does.
I mean, coming in from the background of coaching, in the Swedish league, it should be interesting.
I think it's a good fit.
Formation.
I think it's a very good fit. You know that a lot of people said of the Scandinavian leagues, a lot of our friends that have gone over and played in different Scandinavian leagues, that physical and direct, that's how they play over there, and fits right away. And I think that fits with San Jose with their offense. I think they would fit in well with playing physical and direct.
Yeah, and another thing as well is they rely on the youth system, like the academies and cultivating the young players. So it should be interesting what the head coach installs in the San Jose system.
Yeah, definitely good to watch. It would be seeing them rise what they did last year, early exit in the playoffs this year. You know, they got in at the end, but that one game knockout stage is a very hard thing to do. Where like the semifinals, you got the home and away leg. When you just have one shot deal, it's tough.
It is tough. I've seen many teams who I thought were worthy of actually, advancing, at least having a 2-leg series get just punched out. It's almost like in every sport when they have that, the wild card or last, come in there, you're one and done. You can have a great half of the season, but one game and you're done. You're done within
It's crazy
2
to
hours.
think that you worked all season to have one and done. Also want to remind the listener out there that right now where it's going on is the WPPM 106.5 FM Fund Me Drive. Want to check it out. I know that this show would not be possible without donations and people making generous donations. So we have a hotline you can call and make donations, 215-923-9776. Or the easiest way is to go to phillycam.org. There are many, many unique shows, but they need to be supported. So go to phillycam.org. You top right, the little blue thing, it's a little clicker. You can support us. You can support other shows. And we are a very unique show. We are one of the only shows in the entire country that features women's soccer, men's soccer on a weekly basis. There's not many shows in the world that are able to feature women's sports on a regular basis. We have professional sports players, women, coaches on the show all the time. So if you want to hear shows like us and other unique shows like the show that led into ours, The Elevated, please help and donate. Even if it's $1, you can donate, without having to use your name, or donate $100.
Yeah, it's a good thing about non-commercial media is, you're not getting every 5 minutes the same commercial and, stuff that you don't need slammed.
Yeah, I ain't trying to sell you toupees or anything.
No, toupees. But, local grassroots, basically, you get our opinion, it's, one sidebar is we don't have somebody looking over us. We have these are our opinions that you hear. This is our stuff that we come up with. So creative content throughout the programming all day, and it's pretty diverse. So
a lot of people don't dedicate their time and energy, but we still need money to keep the lights on. We still need money to maintain the equipment. We have a lot of things that are donated here, but we have a lot of things we need to maintain. So check it out, phillycamp.org, WPPM fund drive going on all month. So help us out if you can.
Yep, to reach 800,000 people in Philadelphia and Camden, and that's not including everybody who's checking us out
on the interwebs.
Yeah.
So let's look into the other news, the CONCACAF Player of the Year awards. You've got Pulisic, Dempsey, Josie Altidore. I mean, it's kind of a weird thing, having 3 U.S. players didn't qualify but did so well in the Gold Cup. So it's like, it's kind of like, are they being nominated because, their overall performance? You have to look at both, that we had our Gold Cup, which is our Confederations thing, and U.S. won that, and all 3 of their players had big tournaments, and then even Philadelphia Union, Andre Blake, amazing Gold Cup, one best goalkeeper. So Kevin and I were debating before the show started about, it's kind of a black eye. It's like getting Player of the Year award, but you failed to qualify for the World Cup. You failed at the highest level of CONCACAF.
I'm hoping that they actually get handed a ribbon.
Yeah.
No trophies, you get a ribbon. Best in show.
I mean, it's a debate. You didn't qualify for the World Cup. Almost to me, it's like put in Costa Rica Mexican players. There are ones that are nominated, but it's tough. What do you gauge it on? Because not everyone brought their A roster to the Gold Cup. Mexico brought their C roster, their B roster. They didn't really care about the Gold Cup.
Pretty much, and it looks like, just doing my quick background, I don't think the U.S. has won a Confederation Player of the Year since at least 20.
Donovan, maybe? Is that, or has it been more than that?
Donovan, got a second place. It's going back. It's before 2013.
Really?
Wow. So as far as, the body of work in one calendar or in one year, so it's going back. I mean, yeah, it might have been Donovan.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Well, you don't make the Gold Cup. I don't think you deserve this one either. So let's add on another year to that one.
Yeah, so
in my opinion,
always good for debate. I think the only player on that list that I named out, because of the local ties to Philadelphia Union, was Jamaica's Andre Blake. Because you look at the talent around him versus the talent around Tim Howard. Tim Howard had a very solid team. Jamaica had a good team, but you take Blake off that team, they don't get, second place. You take off a player like, maybe you take one of those players that I named are like Christian Pulisic, Clint Dempsey, Josie Altidore. I think U.S. still has a very good chance to win the Gold Cup without one of those players. Yeah. You take Blake off that team, whole different tournament result for Jamaica.
Yeah, don't forget, too, what round did the U.S. call up the veterans to come back in?
Yeah, it's a really quirky thing. That the knockout stage, you can bring in your big boys. We didn't see Tim Howard, Josie Altidore. Yeah, we didn't see any of those guys until it's weird to me. You're CONCACAF Player of the Year, but you played half of a tournament.
And they didn't really look too great.
Yeah, like who does that? I'm going to show up for the playoffs. I only play in the playoffs. What, do you have special written in your contract?
Pretty much.
I don't play road games. I don't do practice. I don't do 2-a-days. So
we know about that in this town. Practice.
Exactly.
Talking about practice.
So it'll be interesting to see. I think the neat part is it coaches, media, which is us, and fans. So I guess we could be both. Do we get to vote twice?
I think we're a coach of media and fans.
You get 3 votes.
It's an eye between all of us, right?
That explains election fraud. Exactly.
Yeah, pretty much.
Count that ballot. Sir, didn't you vote already? No. The fan in me voted. It's like the frosted mini wheats. The fan in me voted, but the kid in me.
Right. I mean, to be honest, I think that, American fans are so, taken back by not qualifying it. I don't think that they would just say we're USA fans. We're putting our top 3, candidates in there. I think they would be a little bit more look to other teams than
I would. I'm looking. I can't justify and debate one of those players being CONCACAF Player of the Year. mean, it's it's like saying, oh, your team lost in the wild card round of the playoffs. You're the best player in the league this year, period.
I mean,
but it's counting everything. It's counting all postseason things. They look at it as a 12-month calendar, and some people are saying you got to look at their domestic results too. It's a combination domestic and national team results.
Well, is it domestic as far as Champions League?
Everything, I think.
Yeah, I think Champions League to me would have weight. Like,
yeah.
Maybe that's where your Dempsey might get a little bit more credit.
Yeah.
Than but really what did Pulisic do? And
yeah.
So he can't really get judged. But he did have the meaningful goals in Gold Cup.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, we'll check back. Fan voting is going on throughout the month. I've got it up here on a ticker real quick here. It looks like voting will be open until 11:59 Eastern, December 13th. So get your votes in. Jump on your Cyber Monday. That's what you can do for Cyber Monday.
There you go.
You should have got your shopping already done.
Exactly. I have done zero shopping on Cyber Monday nor Black Friday. I did pretty good. Proud of myself.
There you go.
Exactly. So let's move on to women's soccer news. We have some big news coming out of the NWSL. Laura Harvey, stepped down from her head coaching role of the Seattle Reign a few days ago, and now she was named head coach of Utah's new expansion team, the team that is an expansion team and isn't an expansion team by their logo or whatever it'll be. But player-wise, she basically was handed a team that has won some championships, as in Kansas City. So all the Kansas City players will be under Laura Harvey now.
Interesting. Should be interesting dynamic, going out there. As we talked about, you said that it's going to be 4-year success.
Yeah.
Should be interesting. I mean, we talk about having infrastructure with the MLS cooperation stadium. Yeah. Are they playing at, was it Rio Tinto?
I believe so. Yeah. There's not been many announcement yet, except that they're going to be the ownership of. I would assume so, because Portland's in the same situation. Orlando and Houston are all the three other teams in the NWSL that are owned by a parent MLS club, and they train, practice, and do all their activities, but it's interesting how there are, where she came from, Seattle, and Seattle had no affiliation, Seattle Sounders, that is, with this, so they were all completely separate product.
Right. And it's just hard to imagine, Laura Harvey, her caliber of coaching. I mean, she's always been at the top every year.
Well, they were winning Supporter Shield every year, just couldn't win the final. I mean, Supporter Shield every year.
So
MVPs on her team.
It's hard, I see her as a coach that can coach big names. Like there's, you got your coaches that can come in and make a bad team a little bit better, but she can make that team like a superstar, like, in other sports, like a Phil Jackson or,
Yeah, she can handle this, but we've seen her well. Like, she worked with Cope Solo. She worked with Sydney LaRue. She's worked with Fishlock, Kim Little. Did well. I mean, Laura Harvey's been on the show several times, too. I mean, I like her because she's straightforward. And a lot of media, she can be very abrasive, and she just gives you straight-up answers. There's no beating around the bush with her.
I mean, I think the times that we did sit down, doing interviews and in production as well, it's great for us because editing's a minimum. We ask her a question, she gives us an answer. There's no in-between.
It's not that scratching that head like we see, we're talking to some people, we're looking at it.
There's no, like, that
baloney.
That side media, like the media club talk. It's like you ask a question. And
I think the British one, we've interviewed Mark Sampson several times, former head coach of England's women's national team, and same thing with Mark Parsons, head coach of Portland Thorns. They just give you straight answers.
With backing, with a little bit of base, but it's base as in, like,
very confident coaches.
Confidence,
too.
Exactly.
Yeah, because if I ask you something about your strategy, am I asking it because I doubt you? Maybe because I'm trying to, perk you, get a rise out of you, and then if you say no, I use this sub, I did this formation because A, B, and C. They don't kind of doubt themselves. So that'll be very interesting to see. Like I said, it was not like, I guess it was sort of leaked out of the news that the new head coach for the Houston Dash will be announced tomorrow, Tuesday. It's she recently coached South Africa, Vera Paul. She's from Netherlands originally. She's coached 4 national teams, so that's another player that's known how to handle big players, big time. It hasn't been posted to the NWSL site yet because it's a couple different Houston media outlets. It busted the news out about maybe like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock today is when the news broke that would be their new coach. And, I sent her a message and, definitely want to see about getting her on the show. And And then we also saw a few weeks ago with Sky Blue naming their new head coach. So it's kind of a neat thing to see two of the new coaches. As Denise Reddy was named the head coach of Sky Blue a few weeks ago, that we've got the exit of a couple coaches, and we've gotten two female coaches. So both those teams had males as their head coach. Last year started Randy Waldrum. They parted ways mid-season. They had an interim coach, but you're looking at two more female coaches. That's a good thing for the women's league, is to start having faith in these women with resumes, because there are plenty of women out there with resumes.
Yeah, just, once we get a couple more expansion teams, I can just see, a club just investing in a college-ranked coach to come up.
Yeah.
Such as a Randy Waldrum with the extensive Notre Dame background coming to the pro rank.
National title.
Titles.
Books.
But, my interesting NWSL news is Jodie Taylor coming back.
That's huge.
Golden Boot winner in the UEFA's.
Yeah.
So, excellent goal scorer. I mean, for everybody listening to the show, we had her on multiple times when she was here in Philly, had good interviews with her. So, somebody who's going to be a household name with scoring in the league,
Yeah, she wasn't in
doubt.
before. I just don't think she really fit in. She was playing in Washington when they were starting to make their climb back in. Went her back over to England, and now it's coming back. I think stories like that are just kind of like we were talking a couple weeks ago, is the rise of the English leagues versus the rise of the NWSL, and I think they're doing the right thing by keeping Laura Harvey in the NWSL and bringing in some well-known names and bringing in international players. International players that, are starting to have success on the international level, too.
Big-time games.
I mean, you got Fishlock and Jodie Taylor now working together in Seattle.
That should be very dynamic.
Yeah, so definitely think that Jodie Taylor will be in double-digit scoring this coming year.
Wouldn't be surprised at all.
Yeah.
I mean, considering she stays healthy and plays the amount of games, I mean, double-digit scoring, that's going to put Seattle at least in a playoff position.
Also, news out of Houston, too, they did re-sign Rachel Daly. She has more of a forward role, so that'll be interesting to see. I mean, she's had some good international experience. Plays a little bit different role for England, more of a back for England, but, I mean, we saw her for Houston last year scoring goals, so it'll be interesting to see how she'll be used this upcoming year.
I mean, if she gets featured, if she's a featured striker for Houston, I can see, another
big frame,
another, contender for a Golden Boot, double-digit scoring as well as just control, not only scoring but coming back, pressure. She's a complete player as far as a forward.
Yeah, so remind everybody out there, you're listening to World Sports Show on WPPN LP Philadelphia, 106.5 on your FM dial, phillycam.org/radio/listen. I am Charlie Flowe. He's John DiCriscio, and we also have a good friend of the show hanging out in the studio tonight, helping out with some stats and stuff, Kevin Hines.
That's me.
Yeah, so it's good to have you back in the studio, Kevin. It's been a few weeks, been a few months.
Yeah, it's great to be back.
I guess it's been since summertime, right?
Nah, I don't think it's that far.
Has it been that while? I don't know. Maybe. I think it's when John was in Japan you were hanging out with us.
That could be it.
Maybe.
I don't know.
That was summer. That was before. That was right before
June?
the 4th of July. That was June.
Yeah.
You know what? I think the last time we were talking about the Union maybe making the playoffs. So
yep, I think you must have come
September.
October.
This is pretty early.
Yeah. So you've been here a few times. So
yeah,
getting to be a regular name. So it's always good to have you here in the studio. It's always good to just break down stats, and I think it's neat having an outsider person. You've gotten into soccer as the years have progressed. Because you're a football guy, but it's good to have somebody that sees soccer from a different point of view.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even call myself even close to an expert, but I'm definitely a fan. Definitely learning more and more about it, and having you as a neighbor kind of makes things a little easier. So
what's funny, me and John talk about that all the time. When does somebody become an analyst or an expert? When they put on suddenly say I'm on one of the local sideline shows for whoever's covering a Union game, say I'm on a sideline, or soccer analyst, soccer expert. How do you get those titles? Who decides I'm a soccer expert?
As long as you got a Twitter, you're an expert.
Yeah, exactly.
You got to be verified though, right?
I think that's the question.
I'm verified. No, it is always funny, that what makes you an analyst or what makes you an expert of. So, I mean,
maybe when someone starts cutting you a check and thinking you're worth money.
Yeah, exactly. So it's the internet's an awesome place because it's created a platform for everybody to know and understand the game. So, but no, works. So also at the bottom of the hour, a little after 9:30, we will have our first guest on the show, Mike Fest. He is one of the co-founders and co-owners of Lionsbridge FC. This will be a new expansion team in a PDL of the USL. This coming summer, they will play their home games at Christopher Newport University in Newport News, Virginia, which is interesting because Christopher Newport University bought my high school, so my high school became a college. So there was friends of mine who basically spent 8 years in the same buildings. So it'll be interesting to see how they do in the PDL. There was a lot of questions I want to ask him about. Originally, they were talking about being an NPSL team versus a PDL team. So I'll talk to Mike about the differences and reasons why they went for the PDL. We have some local PDL teams like Ocean City, Reading, Lehigh Valley, and they've become a really great programs because a lot of my college students that I coach at Thomas Jefferson University, about half of our roster played PDL. Some played together, some played against each other. I like having my players split up and play on several different teams so they can learn to play with other players. Some of the players I kept together because two of our defenders, and one of our goalkeepers played all together. So they played an entire summer league together, which really transitioned and translated well back into the pitch.
I'm going to tell you what, they got some pretty cool names for teams. I'm just looking at the short list, and the one that stands out is the Chill. Thunder Bay Chill.
Thunder Bay, would that be up in Canada?
I gotta say so.
I'm guessing.
Like
I'm 90% sure Thunder Bay is in Canada.
Oh yeah, like Thunder Bay Bombers.
Yeah, Thunder Bay Chill.
Thunder Bay Chill.
That's good. So yeah, we'll see how that all works out. And I think it's a neat thing for my hometown to have. I mean, I grew up on AAA and single A baseball and ECHL and ACHL hockey. So it's good to have. There is a market for minor league sports. And I think that the PDL does a great job of it. If you looked at all the MLS alumni out there that played in the PDL, you would be shocked to see how many of these players had come through systems, that, and some of the systems are run by, are affiliated with MLS teams. So it's like,
yeah, look at that Reading United team.
That's the one I was going to already say.
Say it's like maybe 2010. It was basically half the team were pros.
Yeah, Ray Gaddis, CJ Sapong, and just a. I mean, even John McCarthy, he played with Reading and he played with Ocean City. I mean, Ryan Richter, Ryan Finley, he was playing for Ocean City. So you have. Was it Andrew Wenger? Yeah, I believe he played in a couple of different teams too. I mean, just the big one is the Ocean City and Reading, are big, and even Red Bulls has their own PDL type of team. So. Very neat, way to get in with clubs and get seen. One of my college players played this summer with Reading, so Bethlehem Steel is going to be taking a look at him when he graduates. So it's a really good way to just get looked at by some high level coaches. And you do have high level coaches at games. We would have union coaches at our games when I was working with Ocean City Nor'easters. Why would you not? Got to scout. Got to mine them gems. Yeah, exactly. So, and I think the good thing is, too, you get a lot of these NIAA players and Division II players and even some Division III players that might not be on the ACC or Big Ten, Maryland's or Duke or North Carolina teams that might not have gotten recruited hard enough, but this is a way for them to go up against other players of that caliber and show that they can play the game. That when it comes to the pro level, at the end of the day, nobody cares what system or what program you played out or what your grades were, at the pro level. That's not what they're looking for. Can you play? Exactly. It's very, very, very simple, and these developmental leagues are really good for finding that kind of talent. And you played in technically a developmental league in Norway. You played professional football. So it's at the end of the day, if you can play, you can play. Yeah, right. Exactly. I went against some players who were former NFL players, definitely past their prime, to say the least. But, some former Canadian Football League players that, you even mentioned that, just you get to see where you stack up against some other players. And especially, over there, football's growing and it's a developing sport. So kind of the interesting scenario. It's like when Europeans come to America to play soccer, we're a developing sport of soccer in America where you as an American, you went over to Europe to play a sport that's developing in Europe. So you're basically like an MLS player coming from Europe. Yeah, basically, just like that. Yeah, exactly. Just like that. But no, we will have, like I said, Lionsbridge FC co-owner and co-creator Mike Vest on the show shortly. They're going through a coaching, I guess, candidates right now, trying to figure out who will be their head coach. I've put my little interest out there that I would like to be head coach, but we'll see. I think the biggest thing he had joked with asking me about, if you have a place to live, I'm like, well, yeah, I grew up in Newport News, so my father's house is still there for as far as I know. So unless Pop sold the house and is living in Cayman Islands now without me knowing, but
I would just pop by an old neighbor that you haven't seen in about 20 years.
like need a roommate for 3 months.
It's all right.
Don't mind me. So
Do we have the official hashtag yet? The Go for Flowe?
I don't. I guess maybe we should create it. Go for Flowe.
Go for Flowe.
Go with Flowe. Is it go for Flowe or go with the flow?
We'll go with the Flowe.
Go with the flow. But that's a silent E at the end.
Flowe. E.
So, but we will have Mike on the show shortly. We're going to take a quick breather, catch our breath, get some popcorn. Stay with you all. We had a great interview coming up shortly.
WPPM 106.5 Philadelphia.
This is Charlie Flowe, World Sports Show. I'm here with Bear Fight FC's Kevin and Jeremy Sharp. How did this all get started? Let's go back to the beginning. Oh my God, the beginning was 3 guys in a pub who one day went, we're going to start our own soccer club. People were telling us every time we complained about how things ran at higher levels, start your own stuff. So we did. So that's really 3 guys in a pub who thought we could do this. And here we are today, finally in our home city, putting on a match. It was phenomenal. I can't say enough about how much these guys worked to make this happen.
And now, back to the WPPM studios in Philadelphia. This is the World Sports Show.
And welcome back to World Sports Show. Charlie Flowe here with Kevin Hines and John DiCriscio. World Sports Show broadcasting on WPPN LP Philadelphia. On the line, we have Mike Vest, the co-owner, co-founder of Lionsbridge FC. How you doing tonight, Mike?
Doing really well. How you guys doing?
Good. It's very exciting times in soccer. MLS playoffs going on, and very exciting times, I'm sure, down there in Newport News. You guys are going through your coaching search and getting preparations ready for 2018. I'm sure that it's a lot to do. You want it to start, but I'm pretty sure you've got a lot of planning to do still.
Yeah, we do. It's been it's funny because we've been working on this project for a while here over the last about 7-8 months now, and it really feels like since we announced that we were going into PDL on November 14th, it does feel like everything has accelerated. It felt like it was going pretty fast already. But once we made the big announcement in terms of a stadium agreement and a league affiliation, things have really picked up even more.
Now, tell us why that you guys decided to go with the PDL versus MPSL.
Yeah, we looked at a couple different leagues, and I guess to rewind a really long time now, to kind of go back to about 15 years ago, that's when I really became first acquainted with PDL in my time at Wake Forest, working with the soccer team there as a media relations person. We sent guys every summer right down the road to the Carolina Dynamo, and they've been around for a really long time in Greensboro, only about half an hour or so from the campus at Wake Forest. And so I was familiar with PDL a little bit through that, and that had to be in the very, very infancy of the league, looking back at it now. So I was more familiar, actually, with PDL over the years, and really, I guess it was about February or so this past year, came across the article that Grant Wall wrote covering Kingston Stockade and Dennis Crowley's efforts up in the Hudson Valley, and was fascinated. Was just absolutely floored by the idea that you could start a club from scratch. And as somebody who'd worked in college athletics for a long time, colleges and athletic departments aren't generally started from scratch.
Yeah.
So I just read that article that night in total amazement, and that's really kind of where the first interest and really the first time I, to be honest with you, had heard of NPSL. And so we looked at that for a while, but also knew that PDL was another league that we should be looking at. And as we kind of went through and did all of our due diligence, talked to a lot of coaches at the collegiate level in Division I, kind of asking them, if we were going to start a club from scratch, where should we go? And it was really unanimous that among that group of people that PDL was across the board probably a better platform for exposure and development in getting guys onto the next level to start their pro careers. And so, as we went further and further down the road, I think it just became more clear that that PDL would be the best home for us. And then also, looking at the geography of the league as it stands right now, we're the only PDL team between Washington, D.C. and the Raleigh-Durham area. So, that gives us a lot of geographical advantages, I think, in our mind, because there's a lot of local players in a pretty wide swath of a soccer-rich state that we can compete for.
Yeah, you talked about that, about just making a local team, and there's enough talent, just the Hampton Roads area alone, just getting players, and there's already several colleges in the area to pull from. I mean, you could really have a 7-5-7 team 100% and have a very competitive team, and still you would have to almost be turning players away. You have that many talent right in our backyard, and I think that's the best part about growing a club. It's we watch pro sports all the time on television, and how many of the players are actually from the town they play for? Not many, but this is a true definition of somebody that plays for their town.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I mean, we look at, we've got 4 NCAA soccer programs here in Hampton Roads, but really there's also a lot of players, and this I think this is the type of thing, to your point, that kind of gets overlooked. Is the high schools in Hampton Roads have produced quite a bit of college soccer talent over the years. What happens is, because you only have 4 college soccer programs here, a lot of that talent does go elsewhere. Some of this information is a little bit outdated, but we found 93 players that played high school soccer in Hampton Roads that are playing college soccer somewhere in North Carolina, Virginia, Maryland, and D.C.
Wow. And
I'm sure that there are a lot of people outside those borders that are playing further afield. So to have a PDL team here in this market, to give those players who are endeavoring to have a professional soccer career and give them an opportunity to continue to work towards that goal here in their hometowns is something that we're going to take a lot of pride in, and hope to have, like you said, a 7-5-7 team to the very best of our ability.
Now, growing up as a kid, I grew up in Newport News, and we had a couple minor league teams, but, we and you talked about it last week, how a lot of the Hampton Roads area kind of gets to focus on Norfolk and Virginia Beach. That's where the big cities are, and you have a lot of the big soccer programs are either Virginia Beach or Richmond, and Newport News is like right in the dead middle of it, and we always seem the peninsula kind of falls by the wayside, but, putting a team in the very central part of the peninsula, what were some of your reasons for that?
Well, I think the key there, I think what you said is, the peninsula is a pretty great place, and it gets overlooked, I think, quite often, and I'm not totally sure why that is. We've got 500,000 people on the peninsula. To give everybody a sense, Hampton Roads, which made up of 7 cities, most notably, I think when you're not from this area, you're thinking of Norfolk and Virginia Beach. The South Side and the Peninsula are kind of the 2 areas of our market. The overall market's about 1.8 million, and we have 500,000, so we're obviously considerably smaller than those, than the South Side. But 500,000 people is a pretty good sized market, and one that's certainly big enough and it's generating a lot of talent, a lot of interest. There's a lot of events in this area. Sporting events, not quite as many on the peninsula as there are on the South Side. But we have a lot of non-sporting events that people really come out for. There's a ton of pride in growing up here, as you know, Charlie, in people who move here, whether it's through the military or for other vocations. And it's a very active, vibrant area that just for some reason over the years, the peninsula specifically just has not had a lot of sporting options, just in general across the board. And so, we think that there's a gap that can be filled. It's not a sleepy town. It's not a sleepy area. I think that there's an opportunity for us to be able to provide a affordable family entertainment option here on the peninsula, and we have high hopes for from a competitive standpoint on the field, but we also have really high hopes for on the off the field part of it as well.
Yeah, I mean, you guys, hit a home run getting connected with CNU, a place that has facilities, locker rooms, they have a broadcast booth, so you have a lot of things that are already set up where a lot of the PDL teams are having to go into and create and find these spaces where I think, like I said, this is a home run. How did that all go down getting this relationship started with CNU?
Well, and you're absolutely right. I mean, I think, just to give everybody a little bit of background, the stadium that we're going to play in has 3,000 permanent seats, has a video board. Like you mentioned, there's a press box. The infrastructure that we have, I only half jokingly say this, stumbled into. The situation that we're walking into with CNU from a stadium standpoint, from a partnership standpoint, the types of things that we're going to be allowed to do in there from an entertainment standpoint with the video board. We'll be able to serve beer. We'll be able to shoot off fireworks. We'll be able to do a lot of the ancillary activities.
Well, you just got half of Virginia interested there, fireworks and beer.
Yeah, right? That was going back to you're asking about how did that really come about. We met with Kyle McMullen, who's the athletic director at Christopher Newport, back in the spring. And it was just a casual conversation of, hey, what would you think if, we were interested in renting Pomoco Stadium, which is where their football team plays. Beautiful grass surface, just wide enough to be able to play soccer. What would you think about that? And he said, yeah, we'd love to have that conversation. I said, well, hold on a second. Would we be able to do the following things? Could we serve beer? And he said, yeah, I think so. And I said, okay. Could we shoot off fireworks after the game? He said, yeah, we do that for our football games periodically. I said, okay. Could we bring in food trucks? And they said, yeah, sure. And I was like, all right, well, what else should I be asking for now? Because I think, there should be some other things that we should, while we're on this roll of yeses, that we should be asking for. So, they have been totally supportive of the vision of creating a real event. We love soccer, right? I mean, I think everybody listens to the show loves soccer. But what we wanted to do more than just create a soccer club or, roll out the ball and play a soccer game is we wanted to put on a full-blown event. And we felt like if we could put on a full-blown event that is affordable for the whole family, that whether you like soccer or you love soccer, that you'll have a reason to come out to the games. The whole family can come out for less than the cost of a babysitter. If we could do all those different types of things, then we felt like we had a chance to be successful. If we couldn't do some or all of those things, it's tough. It's really tough. And I think, that's where I think that we're extremely fortunate that we're walking into a situation where, frankly, we've got the golf balls on the tee. Now we just got to get up and hit it.
Yeah, I think the great thing about the PDL, I've worked with a couple PDL teams before, and I had about 8 of my college players play PDL last summer. and you get a lot of the turnover, so it is a developmental. I mean, the D in it stands for developmental league. So, I think it's more of it's definitely hits the grassroots of growing the game, where it's not just a private club like some of the highest level professional teams that their goal is to win games. Where here is to entertain fans and help these college players get to be better players. And then one day, it's like a farm system. You can look back and say, that guy's playing for DC United. He was one of our first ever players. And, then you have notable alumni that really can help you pitch towards the following years. Hey, these many guys play for us. These are the guys that went pro. And I try to get all of my college players to play in some type of league, and I do push PDLs. If you have a chance to play for a PDL team, go play for a PDL team. It's what every college coach wants their players to do in the summer.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I think what you're saying, too, about, being able to be competitive and also entertain, we're of the mindset that you can do both, that you don't have to do one or the other. I think that, there's an opportunity for for fans to come out who, like I said earlier, maybe they're not as educated on the game. To be honest with you, we really haven't had a lot of, for the most part, if you wanted to go see a high-level soccer game and you lived in this area, you needed to drive at least to Richmond to go see the Kickers, and they do a phenomenal job and have for 25 years. They've been breaking attendance records, each of the last 5 years, drawing 4,000 people a game, sometimes way more than that. Or you needed to go all the way to D.C. And, it's hard to get to D.C. Through all the traffic, especially with young families. So, the idea of being able to stay here, watch high-level soccer, and, have a good night of entertainment, it's just something that, we feel like it was a little surprising to us that we didn't have something quite like this already here on the peninsula itself, because, there is a little bit of a divide that naturally exists between the peninsula and the south side. And there's no animosity between the two. They just sort of separately coexist.
Yeah, that big body of water kind of separates us. And
yeah,
it's just a geographic separation.
Yeah, when you've got to go over over and under and through the Chesapeake Bay to get to the other side, there's a lot of folks that don't like to do that. And so, that's where, we live about 40 minutes or so from Virginia Beach, and sometimes it sort of feels like it's on the other side of the world, but we're all kind of considered to be in the same market. And so, and the same goes for Richmond. We're almost halfway between Richmond and Virginia Beach, and we don't ever really think of Richmond and Hampton Roads as being part of the same market.
I think the neat part about this whole PDL, since I've worked with the PDL teams and had my players, is the fan bases you get and the accessibility of these players. That as a kid, I went to single A Pilots games because soccer just didn't even exist on any type of professional level as a kid. But I remember almost every game my dad took me to, I got an autograph. And that's the thing, is these kids are going to have such access, and at the end of the day, they're going to start looking up to these players. Then if you have like public events, you have these players, and they get autographs, and then the big win for CNU, they're getting these kids on this campus and exposing them to this college atmosphere, and all these players mostly play in colleges. So you're preaching college ball, and you're getting them right in the faces of these players and getting autographs. And these kids, it doesn't take much to impress a kid. I never realized as a kid that I was watching single A baseball. I was told I'm watching professional baseball, and that's all that mattered to me.
Yeah, we had the same experience growing up. I mean, I still remember, I grew up in Kansas City.
Yeah, you're talking about the Comets, man. You brought it back.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I grew up on the Kansas City Comets, and the MISL of the 80s, and it was great. And one of the things that I remember from being a kid at that age was, these guys were absolute rock stars. If they're wearing a uniform that said Kansas City on it. It's just like, man, that's my hometown. And so, sports are never better than when you're 10 years old. I've heard many people say that before, and you have just such vivid memories from that age, and that's why it's going to be really important for us to be able to bring our players out into the community. And I think ultimately, I didn't play soccer growing up past, like 8th grade, but I fell in love with soccer because of the Kansas City Comets, and because, they came to my school when I was in the 5th grade, because I got to play on the field of Kemper Arena at halftime.
Wow.
Of a Comets game, and it was probably, miserable to watch and look at. But as a kid, like, I'll never forget it. Now, part of that's because it was like the pinnacle of my athletic career. But, that's as awesome as it gets, and those kinds of opportunities that we can create for kids here in Newport News and Hampton and York County, Pocosin, and just all these towns that have never really had anything quite like this before. We have the opportunity to be, the Peninsula's team, and that's something that it's a big responsibility and it's a big opportunity.
Yeah, I think you hit home with the whole youth thing. That I have a lot of friends that I stay in contact with. All my friends and that I went to high school with now, they've all got the kids and they're all the soccer moms, soccer dads. And I think the hardest thing for them is if they've met me at a couple games in D.C. that I went to and met some friends, but it's really a planned out event. If you want to go to a game in D.C. or even Richmond, it's a planned trip. You can't just hop in the car and, hey, let's go to this game tonight. And that's something you're giving the people of the peninsula and giving these youth club kids that, hey, they can come right after their game to your game and not have to just plan it out. And then, I've already gotten all these friends now say, oh, can I be a ball boy? Can I be a ball boy? I'm like, and that's the thing is that impression you could leave on a kid could last the rest of their life just by holding a ball on the sideline for 2 hours, and that's a good problem to have, that you're going to have more requests for ball boys than you can handle, and that's how you build these relationships for the future. Now, what is some of the work you've done or connected with some of the local, clubs, youth clubs? Have you done any of that reaching out yet at all?
Yeah, we have. In fact, I think there's about 8,300 kids on the peninsula that play soccer in some capacity. Some of that's travel, some of that is rec, some of that is YMCA, some of it's through church leagues. I mean, but one of the things that's really important for us is we are club neutral, and what we mean by that is, I think we're trying to be ambassadors of soccer. We're really just trying to grow the game on the peninsula, and we're of the belief that every single type of youth club that there is, when we talk about youth soccer, most people start thinking about travel and all that other stuff. That's great, that's and this is another conversation for another day. But that's a common pathway for the best players to go up the chain. What we're trying to do though is kind of honor and respect the fact that not every kid plays travel. Not every family comes from a place where they can afford to do that. Not every kid knows that they even like to play soccer. They're just playing because their friends are doing it and they're 6, 7, 8 years old. All of those clubs have a place and a role to play in the development of the game, whether you're going to be a player or a fan or a coach or whatever the case may be over the years. So what we've been trying to do is reach out to all those different clubs. We've identified, and when I say clubs, I guess I should really be using the term organization.
Yeah, exactly.
So we've reached out to more than a dozen of those so far, trying to get together with them and find out what can we do to support you, knowing that you do something different than the club over there, and they do something different than you, and whatever everyone's doing is good. Like, more soccer is good. So how can we make you guys more successful? And collectively together we can all help to grow the game.
No, it's all great, and anything we can do here at World Sports to support you guys. I know you've got a lot of stuff in media, and are you guys planning to try to broadcast your games too? Because I know you've got a lot of the facilities there too.
Yeah, I almost feel like because we have the facilities, we better do that.
Yeah.
So we're going to stream the games. Our plan is to put them onto Facebook Live, just to be able to reach the broadest audience possible. In fact, the folks at Christopher Newport have been really supportive of that. They stream about 120 events a year on their campus, which is pretty remarkable for a D3 school. And they're doing it in virtually every sport that they sponsor. So we're going to get together with them and find out how we can work together. But we're going to be going into their stadium, using their video board, their streaming equipment, and we're really excited to work with CNU and figure out how we can make all that go. But ultimately, I think the end goal for us is to be able to get those games up onto Facebook Live, and we're certainly planning to do that right out of the gate.
Remind everybody, I was speaking with Mike Vest, Lionsbridge FC co-owner and co-founder. I want to appreciate you calling to the show, and unfortunately, we're running out of time on the show, and appreciate everything you guys are doing down there. And anything we can do from our show, let us definitely know. We definitely are big fans and supporters of your cause.
Well, appreciate you having me on, and we'll look forward to talking again soon.
All right, thanks a lot, Mike. Thank you for calling in.
All right, thanks, guys.
Again, that was Mike Vest, the co-founder and co-owner of Lionsbridge FC. There'll be a new PDL team out of Newport News, Virginia, playing on the campus of Christopher Newport University. So definitely looking forward to seeing, what they do. And I think the neat part about being an expansion team in PDL is you have so much turnover in the PDL that you're not at a super disadvantage coming into the PDL, because players graduate, you go through the cycle of getting new players. Now you've got a market where there is no other market. So you have players that are going to be home already for the summer. And like he says, you got 90-plus players already in the area. All you need is 11 on the field.
Yeah.
A little bit of a talent pool to pull from there.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and they play on grass. Can't argue with that.
That's one thing I was going to bring up.
Yeah.
Nice new grass stadium.
Yeah, that sells me. When you look at some of the best programs in the ACC, they're playing on grass. They're not playing on turf. I know a lot of college kids are sold on I want to play on turf. No, you don't. You want to play on good grass. Trust me. You want to play on really good grass. Anybody in the Philadelphia area, if you ever have a chance, go to a University of Pennsylvania game. You know how good their grass is? The U.S. national teams use it when they come here. Costa Rica uses it when they come here. They might be in town for a couple minutes. Juve is in town. Roma's in town. They're going to use Christopher Newport University. They're not really going over to the Nova complex, even though some do, because that's NFL grass. They want to go to University of Pennsylvania Stadium right over in West Philly.
Well, I say if you want to really appreciate a grass field, check out I'm drawing a blank on the field, the name where my team practices.
Was the club team in Roxborough or something?
No, it's Roberts and Wissahickon.
Yeah? Turf?
No, it's a city field.
Is it pretty good?
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
If you got hiking boots on.
I knew you were going somewhere with that.
It is. It's got each step.
If you want to play in Tim's.
Lace them up, play in Tim's.
Wear the everything brace, or the body brace.
But, I mean, to be honest, it's a lot of golf balls on the field. So
interesting.
So for my warm-ups, when we do kind of spread out and get a little bit of fitness,
pick up golf balls.
Make
sure some money next time you go out and drive.
That's right.
A bucket of golf balls. No, so we wish the Lionsbridge FC soccer team that's going to be in PL very, very best luck. Whatever capacity. I did put my interest in there of being head coach. Whatever capacity is, we definitely will follow them and plan to get down there. I definitely will be somewhere on the home opener at any capacity, So, hey, you do have experience in the booth,
That's right.
So
talking about
call a game in your hometown.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool.
And he was saying about Missouri Comets. We have called a Missouri.
We have called Missouri Comets games. I think that's the coolest part of we called Missouri Comets games. And I think the neat part was that he's talking about the old Comets from the 70s and 80s. When you and I would do our scouting before, we would always watch the game of the teams they're playing before just to see the flow of the game, understand it. Missouri Comets kept their old school logo, and they did their intros still like 70s intros, man. Old like great. Disco music. Oh, man, it's still very 70s themed intro.
The spinning neon Comets
yeah,
sign.
Exactly, dude. There's some retro stuff that please never go away. So, no.
That's gold.
And I think that the big thing was you and I did do Pennsylvania Roar team games, and our audio and video setup was absolutely horrendously horrible. It's night and day so it's a no-brainer to go to a team that already has a setup there. I mean, that's massive, because people don't realize it's not as easy as plugging a microphone into a jack and having a camera pointed at the field.
No, and having more than one microphone for a crew.
Yeah, our little trivia, our first ever sporting game live, we were facing the opposite way of the broadcast, so whatever our right on the screen was left to us, and we had one microphone to pass amongst us, and we did a halftime interview, 3 of us with one microphone. Talk about weird, dude. A little too close for comfort. I like you and all, John, but man, we had to sit really close for a couple games there. Finally got it fixed. But even that, broadcasting an entire game holding a mic versus having a headset with a boom is completely different, because people don't realize when you're broadcasting a game, we're constantly looking at stats and writing down numbers, but when you're holding a mic the whole time, it's very hard to do.
That's right. And then they're like, yeah, we're bringing the commissioner. 5 minutes.
No prep at all.
That's
so,
right. And just one last thing, check out phillycam.org up top, trying to get some funds. Support WPPM LP button. Grassroots, non-commercial. So funding, anything is appreciated. Give us a little bit of appreciation. World Sports Show. It doesn't go to us, goes to the station.
Yeah, I think that about wraps our show up. John, thank you for working the board with 1.5 hands. Thank you for Kevin coming in, and thank you for our guest Mike Vest calling in from Lionsbridge FC. We'll be back next week with more guests and more awesomeness.